Hey everybody, the intro was a lot better tonight. And I'm not doing the herky jerky on here tonight either. So got my graphics card drivers all fixed and starting to piece my computer back together. It's like playing 52 card pickup basically. Um so I see TJ's waiting backstage with the Ryan's farewell name, and it is going to be indeed be Ryan's farewell, sadly. So, um, let's see. I've just been all out of sorts since the hard drive died, so I don't. My brain won't work as far as thinking about things I need to talk about. All I can think about is how many things I need to get back on this computer to have it up and running the way it should be. But let me go ahead and add TJ here. Hey, TJ.
Howdy, how's it going?
Good. Better than last night. So, you ready to talk about this, the start of this third and final season?
Sure. Let's get it over with so people stop complaining.
Why has somebody else been complaining
People.
other than CK?
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
He's the only one that complains, I think, basically. But anyways, let me okay. Just turn up the sound a little bit on my end.
First
So
two episodes are basically a two-parter. So
yeah. This first one, uh, the prophecies, which I didn't realize that was a two-parter until I went back and rewatched. I was like, why is this damn thing so long? Like it's not 45 minutes, like an hour and 27 minutes. But yes, it is a two-part episode. I just wanted to preface this by saying, and I wanted to know TJ's opinion on it. Like, did you think these episodes were a lot darker and grislier? I guess might be the best way to describe it.
yeah, I don't know if they were as you can tell, Ryan. This is Ryan's last two episodes. Um, Except the brief, his headshot has a brief cameo in one of the episodes. Um,
Yeah,
I love when they do that. She's like, it's a headshot. I mean,
exactly.
even if you know anything about movies, you're like, that's like too professional to be like a unless it's one of those school photos. Remember the old photos where it's like
Yeah,
when it's like remember the doubles? It was like your face, and then it was like your shadow looking at you.
I know those. I think those are creepy now. I mean, I didn't think about it when I was a kid, but I always, speaking of school pictures, I used to always take the worst school pictures ever. And I don't know if anybody else ran into that or not. My mom would always buy them because she wanted pictures of her kids. But
Yeah, yeah, I know. They sold you pictures that you could have just taken at home for free.
I know exactly.
You had wallet sizes, and you had the portrait, and then you could get the whole package. And it's like, yeah, okay. Depends on how many relatives really want your.
I don't think you need to buy any pictures until your senior year, or between your junior and senior year when you take the senior pictures and stuff. But
Yeah.
that's just my thinking. My mom has a whole box of photos probably that me and my brother had throughout the years of school. But
Hmm.
what do you do with them? You give out a few. Your
Yeah.
mom puts the big one in a frame and moons over it after you get older. Oh, when my kids were babies.
You get little ones and you trade them to other students. I've seen that in TV shows, so I don't know. I don't remember that in school, but I guess that was a thing. I mean, who the hell would want that? But all right, sure.
Yeah, whatever. Um, so let's see who we got in here. We got Blissful in here, Russell, and that might be it. But there's 9 people in here, but that makes absolutely no sense to me. I'm not requiring people to chat in there, but you've got 9 people. Well, probably one of them's counting you, TJ, but we got 8 people technically in here, and only 2 are chatting.
Yeah.
But I don't know. People want to be lurkers. But anyway, back to the prophecies episode. This one was written and directed by Tom McLaughlin.
Mm-hmm.
And the cursed antique in this case is a book of Lucifer. And I just wanted to say,
It's not like one of the objects they sold or that
right.
Uncle Lewis sold. It just happens to be the Book of Evil, I guess. You know,
Yeah. Wasn't that kind of a cheat, though? That it wasn't one of the
they've done
cursed
that
things.
before, so I mean, it's not the first time they did that.
Mm,
There was some
yeah, I
episodes
guess
we
so.
talked about recently where it's like it's not what it wasn't an item that was like a cursed. I mean, it was a
Yeah.
cursed evil item, but it wasn't like
It
Uncle
wasn't
Lewis sold it
one
or
that Lewis sold, or they,
yeah, like
they
the
whatever.
snow globe. That wasn't a cursed item.
Yeah, you're right. Right. X-rays in here. He says Friday 13th the series, season 3, part 1 of 6 episodes. No, because this is going to be a lot shorter because they didn't even finish this season. This was cut off mid-season. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to TJ to talk about this first. And and by the way, Fritz Weaver's on this episode, but he's not a very nice guy.
Yeah, he plays the evil warlock Astaroth. I guess he's the evil
Mm,
warlock or whatever he is. So he's letting the prophecies of Satan for Satan to come to the take over the world type of situation. Um, so he reads from his book, and then these things happen. So there's a lot of stuff. There's like Jack goes to wherever the hell he goes.
he goes to France. I know.
That's
Yeah.
right. There's like these waters that are supposed to be healing waters. Um, so the gang, some of the gang goes. Ryan, Mickey, Jack. Jack's already there because a friend of his is the reason why he's there in the first place. He goes to pick up something. I can't remember. Or maybe I can't remember now.
I thought he was going to see this woman who became a nun, but I don't know. I'm trying to recall what exactly he was wanting to ask. I think he was wanting to ask her about, maybe something about her faith or something that she had seen.
Well, Sister Adele,
Mm,
she's like she saw the Virgin Mary when she was a young child, and it made her become a nun, and so she's sort of like a saint-ish type of person. So Fritz Weaver wants to corrupt her and kill her, which is part of one of the prophecies he has going here. Um, yeah, eventually, like I said, eventually everybody comes to the same country to
mm,
try to stop the evil Astaroth. Um, Meanwhile, Ryan has he's thinking of his brother that was killed when he was young,
mm-hmm.
and then his mother shows up and she wants to have a relationship again. The reason why she left is because she couldn't handle the fact that her son died and all that. So um, he's in the cemetery visiting his brother's grave, and the mother shows up, and it's sort of a surprise. Like, wasn't expecting that, and it's kind of like if you're
Yeah.
gone all this time, then all of a sudden you come back without like calling or I don't know. It didn't seem like he was expecting her, but as soon as he saw her, he was like, "Oh yeah, we should grab some coffee and talk about things." I guess. I don't know if they ever talked about his father being killed and all that stuff. That doesn't seem to come up in these episodes. I don't think they
No.
bring his dad up at all on these episodes. Um, and that's something that is a point of contention with me later on in the episode. But Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I noticed that too, that they didn't bring up his dad, and it was like, even though him and his dad were kinda they had a strained relationship,
yeah.
I still think his dad was a big part of his life, so that is kinda odd.
Well, yeah, because after the mother leaves, I don't know when exactly she left, but when she leaves, he's stuck with the father. So it's not like, that's all he has is his dad. So for it not to be mentioned that really at all in this episode, 2 episodes, is kind of weird. So anyway, there's a scene where Mickey and Ryan are getting on the plane. This little girl who's paraplegic, I guess she can't move at all. It looks like she's in a wheelchair. Um, Mickey and Ryan introduces themselves to her and her father. Uh, Ryan goes to shake her hand, and she starts having like a spasm, and she tells
Mhm.
him, "Don't go." Um, and the father's like, "Oh, she goes, she has these spells every once in a while. She'll be fine." And then as they're looking at her, they're about to turn to get up on the plane, and she looks over to Ryan again, and she says, "Don't go." So we obviously know Ryan is in danger. If you've never seen the episodes before, you don't know how the episodes are going to end. But looking back, I was like, oh yeah, well, we know what's happening. So I mean,
Right.
um, so they get back to they go to France or whatever, and a bunch of stuff happens. Um, and they call Johnny's back because Johnny's going to be in the rest of the series from now on for the next 20 episodes.
Unfortunately.
And he's sort of hanging back, and they're like, "We need you to come and help us out." Um, the mother's still there, and she's like, "Oh, what's going on?" Because Ryan ends up getting hurt, and Johnny's like, "Oh, he should be fine. He'll be fine. Don't worry about it."
Uh,
And then we leave her, and then we get all the main drama that's happening with Astaroth, and Ryan gets possessed. Ryan kills the special nun. He kills her. He gets a nice possession with the yellow eyes and all that stuff.
yeah, the possession stuff is pretty cool, but that's part of where I said that everything gets
Yeah,
darker,
yeah.
and more grisly.
There's a priest that runs in to try to save the nun, and Ryan just like flicks him, and he like slams against the wall, and it's very dramatic. Um, and it's like, whoa, they just killed the priest. That's pretty. That's pretty
That's
crazy. We get
pretty hardcore
nun,
there.
priest, yeah. Um, yeah, and Ryan gets possessed, and they have to basically exorcise the demon from him. Um, uh, and the little girl is supposed to be like the next coming of Satan, I guess, something like that. It's a little. I don't know if it's vague. Maybe I just don't remember it exactly, but um, she's supposed to be like the next. She's supposed to be the next. Like the nun. She's supposed to be the next like saint type of
Uh-huh.
evil fighter type of person. Um, I was thinking there's this scene with the sister. She's like, I'm just an instrument. I'm not really that important." And I was like, I don't know. I think your life is sort of important, even though if you're just, I
Right.
mean, even if you're a messenger of God, I don't think God wants you to be in pain. I mean, I would assume. I don't know. Um, that's the same God who said you shouldn't have vaccinations and vote for Trump. But anyway, uh,
Right.
that's a different story. Anyway, so Astaroth ends up kidnapping the little girl. Is gonna sacrifice her. So
Mhm.
that's supposed to be like the innocent is sacrificed to being finally. I think that's the final prophecy that's supposed to
Yeah.
bring Satan into the world. A la Prince of Darkness from John Carpenter kind of situation. Um, except she doesn't have to swallow this green liquid and turn into this girl who has a lot of skin problems.
Right.
That's a different movie. Um, so yeah, and Ryan ends up sort of like saving the day, but he's changed into a young boy. Like he's something to do with the memories of his brother dying.
Mm.
So his body, he's stabbed by Astaroth, and he basically dies, but he comes back as the little boy because through his memories of his brother,
Mhm.
he goes his body goes back to when he was younger, which brings him back to life, I guess. So he's like a preteen or like 10 years old, maybe something like that. I don't know how old.
Right. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Um, Jack's like so they're all three of them, the four of them together, and they're gonna. Um, he doesn't have any memory, of course, of because he's back to whatever age he was. So he remembered. Jack's like he's like, oh, I remember my uncle Lewis has a friend Jack. And he ends up calling him Uncle Jack, and then Mickey's like, "Do you know me? I'm Mickey." And he goes, "I have a cousin named
Uh,
Mickey. She has red hair." Um, but I think he would remember her younger. So um, there's that point where he doesn't know who they are, so he sort of knows Jack, kind of, and he never met his cousin, at least
mhm.
that we know about. Because really, in the first episode, they had never seen each other. So I mean,
Right.
be brought up again with no other continuity besides that episode and these episodes. It's kind of weird, but that's like sitcom TV show writing, anyways, where they forget stuff and or
Yeah,
they.
that's the logic of television series.
Mm. So they end up bringing. They don't call her ahead of time, but they just bring back the little kid to Ryan's mom, and she's like, "Who's this little kid that's bothering me?" I'm sure she doesn't remember what Ryan looks like at this point because she's in shock because she's expecting to see older Ryan.
Right.
They don't really explain anything to her. She just sort of like realizes it's her. Their it's her.
Yeah, and Jack goes through that whole thing because Mickey's questioning him about it, and he said, well, I couldn't really tell her all this over the phone.
Yeah, but I
So they
mean,
just let him, walk into the airport or whatever. And it's like,
yeah, because he's like, "Where's my
oh,
mom?" And they do the whole. Oh, she doesn't recognize you because you've changed. Yeah, because you're a little boy again.
mhm.
And then and then Mickey goes, she probably looks different to you, and he goes, yeah, but she's the most beautiful mom anybody could ever have. Kind of like, okay, you're adorable, Ryan. Great, thanks a lot. Um, that's where the whole thing with the father. It's like,
Mhm.
isn't he wondering where his dad is if he's
Yeah,
reverting back to that age?
exactly.
It makes no sense, but we're only with them for this brief moment at the end of the episode to sort of just wrap things up really quick.
Yeah, to wrap up, Ryan's
Departure.
2 year career on that show, and then bam.
And then we're stuck with Johnny. Great. Johnny's so great. He's just like the little brother that's a pain in the ass. That's what Johnny is. That's what he seems to be.
Yeah, yeah, the obnoxious brother that you can't get rid of. He's like the third wheel all the time, um, which he literally is. I mean, I almost I hope the guy that played Johnny never listens to these things because
I don't think he will.
I don't think he will either. But I wouldn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. But I mean, it's just he didn't really add anything to the show. Really, it almost would have been better if they had just Mickey and Jack just continued after that.
Well, they
And
needed like a helper, so they needed somebody. I think it was hard enough with the three of them before, and to cut it down to two kind of doesn't seem to make sense. Um, Especially like you said, things are getting a little bit more harder to handle. So for
yeah, they're I think they were definitely, I mean, maybe they were letting them get away with more on the show at this point in time because there were a couple of scenes in some later episodes we're going to talk about where it looked like people got stabbed in the throat, and it was just like, just like very grisly, in my opinion. It's just um, surprising because they had those hokey special effects and stuff early on, and then they were getting better and more realistic. But then the show was going to be over soon, but they didn't know. I guess they didn't know that at the time, that they're just going to say, well, no more show after a certain episode.
Yeah, TV was different back then. They didn't have like nowadays, with like binging, they have a whole show set up from beginning to end. So
Right.
every episode break is just basically like if it was like one big 8 hour movie, it would
Hmm.
that's how it would be, kind of thing. And then this they were writing as they went along, so like it's
Yep.
not like they had the whole season written. It was like they wrote as they went along a lot of the time.
Hmm.
So they got, but yeah, when they pull the rug out from under them, like sometimes they would put out a show, and it would be like 12 episodes, but only 10 would air, and you would like never see the last two episodes.
Right. Something that they mentioned, like there was like in the book, the Curious Goods book, we talked a little bit about that last time, but like they had all these little excerpts from, I guess, like where they had been interviewed about
Hmm.
this third season.
Yeah.
And of course, Frank Mancuso Jr. acted like a big jerk because John LeMay tried to be introspective, I guess, and Roby tried to understand what John LeMay was going through and all that. But Frank Mancuso Jr. just basically didn't act like he gave a shit. And Tom McLaughlin's kind of, I think Tom McLaughlin didn't know what to think because, like, Frank Mancuso Jr. came to him and said, uh, John LeMay was going to be leaving the show, and he was like, "You're kidding me," you know.
Yeah.
I guess he didn't expect it, and something else too. They said the prophecies was a really good double episode. I don't think it needed to be a double episode. I know they were trying to give Ryan a good send off, but I the whole turning back into a kid thing and all that stuff, I didn't think it really worked.
They didn't want to kill him off, and they had to figure a way to sort of keep him around.
Hmm.
Um, so I kind of get that. Maybe they were thinking he would come back. Maybe if they didn't know there wasn't going to be a fourth season, or they
Right.
were going to not finish the third season. Maybe they thought he could have come back. I don't know.
Well,
Um,
I wonder why they couldn't have like just had him like, meet another woman, like early on the
that's
show.
always lame. I hate when they do that.
He would always threaten to leave. He did several times, and even Mickey threatened to leave sometimes, because she just couldn't take it anymore. They would go back and forth on
I
that
mean,
stuff.
Jack wanted to leave after his ex girlfriend died
Yeah.
early. So I mean, they all had that emotion. But I as far as the two episodes, like I said, they wanted to have an epic ending to Ryan, and they sort of wanted to introduce
The
you and sort of
Ryan saga.
give Johnny a better introduction than those two episodes, which I still don't think you really get a lot of Johnny in here. It's more Ryan gets to show off a lot, like the thing with his
Yeah.
brother, and then being possessed, and fighting to stay sane and not kill people, and he knew he killed the sister. Like after he calls Jack, and he's like, "I killed the sister," and I don't know what to do. He has Jack ends up getting hurt and in a coma for.
Yeah.
He's in a convenient coma. He's in a coma for like just for the convenience of it, because he just comes out of it and he goes running off to I'm like,
Yeah, I know. I was like, what?
how it
What?
works.
He
But then,
looks like he looks like he's on death's doorstep there when they first get there and they're looking at him. And then all of a sudden he's hopping out of bed and going running around.
it's a plot contrivance. It's an
Yeah.
always. It's I was watching a clip of Drag Me to Hell, and I was like, okay, so she falls on the train tracks, turns, and the train's right there, but it's still another 2 minutes before the train even goes by. And I'm like, was there some kind of time warp going on there, or is there like,
Right.
was there a time travel standstill? And it was just like, horror movie logic is just like, you don't think about it at the time, and then you're looking back and going, "This is stupid. This makes no sense."
I don't know which is worse, horror movie logic or television series logic.
6-1.
But I'm going to read through a few of these chat messages and then we're going to go to the next episode here. Uncle Bill says he's ready for the 24-hour Friday the 13th marathon. Well, we're not going to go on for 24 hours. Trust me. I can't do that.
You can watch the remake.
X-Ray says the ending was hilarious. Ryan turns into a kid and his old ass mom got to raise him all over again. That would be very hard for an older woman to.
With no husband. Well, she didn't. She left originally, so she didn't raise him at all.
Right, basically. X-Ray says this feels like this should have been a series finale.
Yeah, well, he wasn't going to stay around for the rest of the episode. So.
No, he's like, I'm out of here. X-Ray also says the show jumped the shark, and Johnny is Poochie.
There's actually some good episodes, so I don't know what they.
But X-Ray says the actor who played Johnny is secretly watching the stream.
Yeah. Well, he has nothing else to do. He's on strike if he's still an actor.
Yeah. X-Ray says they were just pulling shit out of their asses back then. Oh, and this is interesting. I hadn't heard this story. X-Ray says Frank Mancuso Jr. was a prick from what I heard. Ralph Bakshi mentioned him fucking up Cruel World during production. I heard Bakshi punched him in the face. Blissful loves that you said convenient coma, TJ. But it was pretty much a convenient coma.
Yeah. Just enough time for Ryan to cry and say, what is he going to do?
Yeah. And that was it.
So that was
The next episode is Demon Hunter, directed by Armand Mastriani again. The cursed antique this time is a ceremonial dagger.
I'm very happy. I figured the twist out very early.
Did you?
Yeah. I don't really remember this season. I remember the two-parter.
Uh-huh.
I don't really remember any of these other episodes, so I was like...
I didn't remember any of them. I didn't even remember that two-part episode.
I was like, okay. So I was going on with this episode, and I was like, oh, I figured it out.
But you know what the problem I have with this episode is?
No.
It's how nonchalant Mickey is about trying to get Jack to sign the papers, taking over Ryan's share of Curious Goods. She just acts like she just doesn't like. Did the whole last episode never happen? All that emotional stuff, and she just seems cold.
Well,
At least at the beginning.
Jack in this episode. He's usually the one with the more what's the word I'm trying to think of? Where he's like, he's the more optimistic one, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
She's very emotional.
Yeah, and she's got a later episode we're going to talk about. She gets really emotional.
Yeah, that's a good episode for her. That's like her Ryan two-parter episode in one episode. But yeah, first of all, this episode was like, yeah, it was okay. It's very late 80s action drama at the beginning, sci-fi action drama. It's like a sci-fi movie kind of feel to it, especially the scenes with the family and the Ghostbuster monster detector, which they rip off, which I was like, oh, this is Ghostbusters now. What the fuck is going on?
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway,
But you want to go ahead and start talking about the episode, TJ? I'm gonna step away because I keep yawning. So I'm gonna. TJ, you made me want to have some autumn mix. Actually, I was going to get mellow cream pumpkins and I
2 weeks
couldn't get
ago.
them. It doesn't matter. It doesn't
Okay.
matter. I'll be right back.
So we get this family. They're tracking down this demon. It's a it's a it's a scary little sucker that they're trying to capture and kill. Um, it attacks, kills one of the sons. He gets impaled on this big stick in the middle, like where you see the shot where they're heading towards like this. I forget what it was, like a mower or some kind of farm equipment that had this big jetting stick out of it. He gets impaled on
Yeah.
with a creature. Nice blood splat out of his mouth. It's
Yeah,
very
that's grizzly too, I think.
it's too dark though. You didn't get this like see blood dripping from
Right.
the wood and from his chest, but you know it's a nice little scene. But it's got all these like um, Mario Brothers music stuff going on because they're in this van and they're tracking the creature. So it's very like it's like if the Scooby van was decked out with guns and stuff like that. You know.
Yeah.
Um, and they got their little tracking device, very aliens with the beep 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 beep, where you know. And like I said, they have the handheld demon detector. Then we cut to, like you said, Mickey has decided to make Jack her partner now that Ryan is incapable of it. So I think that would have gone to his mother technically, but we'll not get into. I don't know if the this is that movie My Demon Lover. Uncle Lewis had My Demon Lawyer because I don't know who wrote.
Right.
I don't know who wrote this and said, okay, this is how it's going to work. But anyway, Mickey is
You
now.
could make that movie, TJ, or make a short called that, My Demon Lawyer.
Gotta write that down. Meanwhile, yeah, I think Mickey's just trying to like not think about Ryan too much because she says I miss him and she like I would she wishes he was there and but she says I look what happened to Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
Something could happen to me, and I want to make sure there's somebody I can trust who will take over this thing. So that could have been season 4. It would have been just Jack. And
Just Jack. They could have called it that.
I wish Johnny would. Somebody could have killed Johnny. But anyway,
Oh, we're being so hard on Johnny.
yeah. Well, he deserved it. You can't take over a character and just that's it, and then people aren't gonna love it. That happened in a lot of shows, news radio that happened too, and I could list you a ton of shows where they tried to bring in somebody to replace like a main character that people liked.
You know what's even worse than that though is for them to think that the audience is going to believe that's the same damn person. Like when they have a new actor or actress replace the character,
Yeah, I mean,
I never did like that either.
yeah, just write them out. Just say that they're not there anymore. Just don't try to. I hate when they, except like it was fine in A Nightmare on Elm Street when they did that with Kristen because I think the two Kristens are two different characters, even though it's the same character. I think the positions of where the characters were within those two movies, it didn't bother me that much,
Right.
Because Patricia Arquette had a very like. I don't say she was bored, but she had a very like calm and her voice was very like soft and soothing, and even when she would scream, and she would just like ah, like, she wouldn't really get her whole face into it. It's like she just gotta go ah, if you can scream, it's gonna be like ah. Like you have to give your whole face. But And then I think Tuesday Night was like more like Kristen's been through a lot of shit kind of character.
Yeah, yeah.
She's smoking, and she's actually telling her mother off, which that should have happened before. But anyway, back to Demon Hunter. Mickey gets this package. It's the dagger of the that's the possessed the I don't know if it's a cursed dagger either. It's just a dagger that was used in it was like not a sac. It was like a ceremony. It's a ceremonial dagger, which it's not. It's used probably for like killing people, and like when you kill the victim for the demon to come back out or whatever. And he said it was a Nokian dagger, not a Nokia, not the phone, but a Nokian dagger, which is used for demonic, like I said, demonic usage, basically. Used by I have to write this down because I was tongue-tied of how to pronounce it. A demon olator, a demon olator, which is like, I don't know if that's a real thing, but it's like, seems like a made-up name. Like we're gonna add something to demon and make it sound like
we're gonna make it sound cool.
It's like in a religion, I guess, like that. So a demonolator is a worshiper of demons. So okay. So yeah. So the family and the trio come together because Johnny gets involved. Obviously, Johnny gets a phone call when they're trying to put the dagger into the vault to keep it, to keep the evil contained. Jack cuts his hand because the lights have been going off and on throughout the episode because there's something the phone company or the electric company doesn't really know what's going on because, of course, it is evil that is causing this. So anyway, so the lights go out. Somehow he has a big slash down his hand, and I'm like, even if the knife fell out of his hand, how did this like get right down the middle and deep too?
Right, exactly.
It needed stitches because it was real deep looking from what I could see. Anyway, so the blood hits the ground, like the stone floor, and the stone floor sucks it up.
Mm-hmm.
Like it slurps the blood, it disintegrates. They're like, huh, interesting. And then Johnny comes by. Jack wipes his bloody bandaged hand on the ground. The blood gets sucked up, and Johnny's like, what the hell's going on here? We find out that there's something under the vault. There's
yeah.
Catacombs or whatever, and there's this evil altar church. What was it? I can't remember what it was. Oh, it is an underground church of necromancy because you usually have those on the ground because that's where the best place to have necromancy is under the ground. Anyway, Jack determines that he was like, I don't know why there was a vault here. Then I realized when we found the thing underneath is that the vault is not protect, but to keep any evil forces from being unleashed by accident. That's what the vault is there for. So that's why the vault, if we didn't figure that out this last 2 seasons, the vault is supposed to keep the evil trapped in there. Like I said before, sort of like the what do you call it from the Conjuring, the Warrens. It's like the Warrens.
Oh yeah.
Which I'm like, I wonder if they would ever, whoever owns the rights to that place, if they would ever try to sell off the items. Like, if they were really evil, that would be just like this show.
Yeah, that's kind of creepy.
Yeah, I wouldn't buy anything from that, especially like the Raggedy Ann doll, which I'm sure people would. I'm sure those aren't gonna sell those things for $50. They're probably gonna sell those for thousands of dollars or millions. I bet, if anything.
Right.
But anyway, it seems the demon that has been being chased by this family is somebody had sent the demon off. A conjurer, I forget what they call the person that sends the demon off, the sender or whatever. Um, and we're trying to figure out who the sender of the demon was. And as when I discovered that that's what we were doing, I realized who the sender was, but we don't find out till later who that person is. But there's a point where everybody, so they end up showing up thinking Jack Ryan. See, I'm still not used to Ryan not being there. That
Right.
Jack, Mickey, and Johnny are part of the cult that have sent the demon to kill them. They're not believing anything they're saying. Even they're saying, like, Jack has his little demon book, and the guy's like, "Well, if you were a good person, you wouldn't have the demon book in the first place, now would you?" You know, that kind of thing. And they're holding guns on them because they're military crazy people. I'm sure they passed the psychological test to get a gun. Anyway,
It's almost like Day of the Dead, sort of, all those military guys.
nowadays, where it's so easy to get a gun and dress up in military stuff, and
That too. Yeah,
trying to take over
unfortunately.
the Capitol. But anyway, that's a different story. Uh, so anyway, yeah, so they're basically trying to convince everybody that they're not the bad guys, and they're trying to help stop the demon, but no one's believing them. Um, he sends the daughter upstairs to make sure everything's secure. This is where we find out that, hey, she's the one who conjured up the demon. And she was going to have the demon kill her family because, guess what? She's evil. And she wants to kill, her family were killing all her cult friends. So she pretended, she pretended to be, so they end up, that's the backstory where I forgot that part, where the family went to get the daughter who they thought was kidnapped by the cult for a sacrifice. But that was her whole plan. She was a member of the cult, but she wanted to pretend that so it would throw her family off from the demon hunting.
Right.
And and also part of the thing is the souls of the people he killed, the evil people he killed, will be released into the world again. When the demon gets the souls of anybody he kills. That's the demon's payment. He gets the soul. So she's sacrificing her brothers and her father for the demon. So she's a piece of garbage. And the father protects her right up until the end until he stabs her with the sacrificial dagger, which stops the demon. And they're all dead. I guess the father goes off. I don't know what happens to him. He's alive, and I guess he's gonna go sulk and I don't know, goes back to hunting demons. I don't know. And then we get the little closeout where they're like, "Hey, now we've been saying 100 times in this show that there's not enough room in this vault. Now they have this whole cavern to put more cursed items in." So it's an episode that this should have been like the second part of the second episode, sort of like starting the show anew. But instead, we get 2 full episodes of Ryan, and then we get this episode. So I think those 3 episodes all should be edited into one big, like even 1 hour.
Yeah.
That should have been what they had done, but whatever. And yeah, so the demon effects were cool. The blood effects were cool with the blood just disappearing into the ground. Even though I caught the surprise, I liked what they had for the twist. So, even if you guessed the twist, if it's a good enough twist, it's like, oh, okay. So you can be like, oh, when you found out that somebody sent that demon out, it's like, well, these are the only characters we're seeing. So obviously,
Right.
we know which ones it definitely isn't. So,
Right. Exactly.
yep.
But yeah, I like this episode, but the only thing that bothered me was just how Mickey acted. But maybe, towards the beginning, but maybe that was just like you said, she was kind of trying to be the stabling force because Jack seemed a little out of it. So maybe she was thinking, if I act a little colder, maybe it'll bring Jack out of his funk, I guess.
And Ryan's not dead, so it's
Right.
not like. Do you mourn somebody? I mean, he's the older Ryan no longer exists, so I guess you could call that not being alive anymore. But Ryan still exists, so
I just wonder though if Ryan is like, we'll never know because this show is over with. But
yeah.
I just happen to wonder if Ryan would be the same Ryan when he gets older.
No, because he was raised by his dad. His
That's
mother had no
right.
involvement, so now he's being raised by his mother. So he's not going to be the same person.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
that maternal instinct will
yeah,
change him,
and he'll have different life experiences and different things will
and
happen
he
to him.
won't even be John LeMay when he gets if he's somebody else.
Nope.
Um, but yeah, overall, I liked the episode. It it was like kind of like a video game. That's what X Ray was saying with all
Yeah,
the
that's what I think.
noises and stuff like that. But let me
Oh,
see.
this next episode. I don't want to talk about it as much. You can take like the full reign. I'll give you the basic.
Oh,
Some
okay.
people would like this episode.
Um, X Ray says he always had a soft spot for Demon Hunter, so I'm taking it that he liked it pretty well. He said it felt like a riff on Phantasm. I love the whole Satanic Panic vibe. I didn't really see the Phantasm thing going on in it, but
Maybe more Phantasm 2.
maybe more Phantasm too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, X-Ray says makes me wonder if this was supposed to be its own thing, but was turned into an episode.
I don't think so.
And hey Coco, by the way, Coco says TJ rocking the pompadour tonight.
I mean, okay.
I was gonna ask if you got a haircut.
I did.
All right, so yeah, it looked like you got a haircut to me. Uh,
I got them all cut.
X Ray says, thinking about it now, the concept of the entire show is flawed. They sold all the items and had to get them back, right? Why is it that the objects all didn't do crazy shit at the same time?
Because they weren't all used at the same time.
Yeah,
Also, some stuff is just like the one with the camera with the werewolf. That camera was sitting in a case, not being
right.
sold, not being used. It was there as a display. No one was ever going to use that until that guy
That
stole
kid stole it. Yeah. So the next episode is called "Crippled Inside," and the cursed
Great
antique is
Revenge is what it is.
the cursed antique is a wheelchair.
She gets
So
she gets raped and she becomes a she has to use one of those straw things. Remember they used to have I don't know if they still like they had a straw I guess where it moves you can move the straw and it moves
yeah,
the wheelchair. She sort of has that thing now.
but how much do you want to talk about it, TJ? You just gonna give like a skeleton bare
I'll
bones?
I'll talk about it and you can throw in whatever you want to throw in.
Okay.
So this girl's on a date and it's I guess it's like the good looking popular guy in town and she thinks it's just going to be them and they seem to be having an okay time and then he brings his friends into the situation and um, they all try to have sex with her and one of them pulls a knife on her and basically threatens her.
Mm.
um, she one of the guys doesn't want to be involved but he's still involved.
You always have one of those.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't think he does really a lot to stop it besides I don't know. Because she gets away and she runs and she gets hit by a car
Hmm.
and she becomes crippled because of getting hit by the car. And they're like, okay, um, I know you did last summer. We're not going to talk about this ever happening. We're gonna go off and ignore it. Nothing ever happens to them. she I forget if she tried to tell people and there just wasn't enough evidence, or I forget the whole that part of it.
Yeah, there's always something where they just have to be able to get free or whatever, because
Yeah.
if they didn't get away with it, then there would be no reason for revenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is definitely like a TV version of a rape revenge movie, basically.
Yeah, they attack her. They don't, we don't see actual, you know,
No.
our word. We keep saying the word. Um, yeah, and she's in a wheelchair. We get this creepy guy who just kind of comes out of nowhere, like this sort of like crazy Ralph, but he's helpful. He's gonna give her this crazy wheelchair.
Yeah.
It's very like old fashioned looking wheelchair, um, which I'm like, which she just kind of sits in. Like it's not
Mhm.
the one that she uses to like get around in.
Right.
Like her mother buys it for her or something like that. Something like that, and you feel bad for the poor girl. I mean, look what she's gone through, and now she's paralyzed, and her mother's trying to like keep her spirits up, and like this where she's in the chair and she's kind of just like she can't move, and the mother has to move her face to the window so she can feel the sun. And I was like,
Right.
oh, you're killing me with this character.
Yeah.
Well, we find out that the chair is possessed, and she can basically to make it simple, she can astral project her body, and it turns into sort of a physical form. So she goes and gets revenge on the people who made her this way,
Uh-huh.
and she gets stronger. Each person that, right? She gets stronger every time someone, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I wasn't sure, 100%, but yes. Um, this is Johnny. We try to get Johnny's sort of the sympathetic guy who's trying to help out the girl because he feels like she needs help, and he's sort of the one that's sort of because Jack's dealing with these young kids. That kind of made no sense. So we got Johnny sort of the Ryan muscle now, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, she's just basically getting revenge on these guys, and I think her last victim is the guy who is sort of the sympathetic guy who really didn't want to be involved. Um,
Right.
but she still tries to kill him with a chandelier, which is hilarious. Because it's like, okay, now we're gonna do something. At least we're doing something creative instead of her just going to stalk and slash. And of course, they end up at Curious Goods because she just can't stay in her boring house killing people or going to like a
Mhm.
store or a restaurant and killing people. She's and her ghost is very like I guess she's this. It would be her anyways, but the spirit or her ghost form is sort of enjoying
Mhm.
the torment she's putting on these people, and I guess it makes sense. But as we've discovered, the cursed objects corrupt a lot of these people. Though in some of these episodes, these people are already corrupted before the cursed items ever got to them. So
Yeah, yeah, I think we talked about that a little bit in some of the earlier episodes too.
yeah. So right when she's at Curious Goods and drops the chandelier on the other dude, she wakes up in her chair. Her mother's shocked that she can move. She's
Mhm.
explaining to her what's happening, and it ends up everything kind of. She ends up going back. Oh, no, she doesn't. The actual guy that the main bastard. That's basically I'm gonna still call it. Is the last one she gets her revenge on. Um, so she's basically she's back to being sort of stuck in the chair, and he's gonna throw her down the stairs and kill her because he knows that she's been killing all his friends.
Hmm.
If they support you in your murdering, in your raping and hiding of trying to kill somebody or whatever, they're not friends, you know. Anyway, but she's only playing like she can't move. She gets up, grabs him by the neck, tries to strangle him. They both fall down the stairs and they both die.
Hmm.
And we get a little dialogue from Johnny, because this is basically Johnny's episode. No one else is in this episode.
Yeah, I did notice that he's basically the one going. Well, I can't really say Johnny's doing anything per se, but
He trips
he's
into
just there.
luck. He's lucky in this episode. But I think I get what they were doing. They wanted an episode where they're like, all right, we're gonna get the audience on Johnny's side. So we're
Hmm.
gonna give him some sympathy. We're gonna give him like he's gonna do everything on his own. But then there's some other episodes after this where he fucks up, and it's like, what?
Yeah, and
Very inconsistent. Maybe they're out of order. I don't know.
I hadn't thought about that, but occasionally, these television series do film. Because if you look at air dates of course, I haven't really examined these specifically as far as the air dates, but it could be possible that they did film these. Uh, well, it shows this one was October 9th, and the next one is October 16th. So
Well,
those are.
yeah, this one was the 21st. It aired on, and the next episode after this is the 16th. So yeah, it's those are out of order.
Well, I'm seeing October 9th for Crippled Inside.
And really, on IMDb it says aired
Oh,
October.
okay. So who's right? Is IMDb right or the Curious Goods book right?
She's written some stuff in this, like she's been wrong.
Right.
there's
Yeah.
some there's some like typo stuff in there too, and I'm like, okay, like words are missing s's, and there's a like a and a the that should have been in there, and so I don't know
Well,
about this. In her opinion on some of the episodes, so it's I'm like,
yeah,
eh.
I didn't know. Some of it I thought was like, boy, man, she's being harsh on this episode for what appears to be no apparent reason.
Like an episode I like, I'll read that she says I never liked this episode. And I'm like,
Yeah. Or I used to like it and now it's lame or something,
yeah, it's like okay, honey, okay, thank you. We get it. You wrote a book and you have opinions. Okay.
we could write books too,
Yeah. It does throw me off when I'm reading her book and then she'll comment on something and I'm like, okay, Mystery Science Theater.
And then she goes like at the end of this chapter on this episode, she says, I don't know if I would say it this way. She says, I've always had a fascination with rape and revenge films.
She must be related to Steve.
And then she mentions, I Spit on Your Grave. They call her One Eye, Last House on the Left, Irreversible. Um,
Like my raincoat.
but she says she can't help but wonder if it stems from Crippled Inside. Uh, she says she saw this episode of Friday the 13th, the series, way before she saw any of those rape revenge films. So, uh, so I guess what she's saying is this episode made her want to go watch a bunch of rape revenge films.
So, well, there's another episode that she's talking about later on, and I forget which one because I didn't write it down. But she's like, "Yeah, this got me into horror, like, or this got me into like." I was like, "Okay," but I mean, but at a very young age, and I'm like, "Okay, who's back then? Who was exposing you to this stuff?"
That's something to ponder. Well, don't ponder on it too long, but uh, oh, something else. An umbrella is mentioned but not explored. So here
Yeah,
again, we've got another episode where there's a secondary cursed object that they don't retrieve.
yeah. I wonder what that umbrella did. That like you think what was an umbrella used for?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, we could talk to what's his face from Silent Night Deadly Night 2, We know what he did with the.
Well, yeah, exactly. We can talk to Eric Freeman about that. Ask him what exactly do you, I'm trying to figure out who this person is down there. I don't know if this is that same person that was on here begging me to let them on.
I
Uh,
don't know.
yeah, they didn't send me a private chat message, so I don't know who it is. Again, I can't add people if I don't know who they are. It just looks like their cameras moving all over their computer desks and
Is it old
stuff.
curly jaws?
Well, it could be, but usually old Curly Jaws isn't in like I think and I'm not making fun of him. Usually he is in an outbuilding or something like that is what a shed or something like that. I don't know what this person's doing, but if they're just running the camera all over their okay, uh, enough of this. Like,
By the way, this title, I think they wouldn't be able to call it this title nowadays. Cripples
yeah,
inside. That doesn't seem like um, uh, uh, impaired inside because you can't say the word.
all right. So there we go. Enough of that. If somebody can't show their face, and if that was anybody that wanted to be added, just let me know.
Are you reading the comment?
Oh God. Yeah, I'm gonna go to the. I got distracted by that person that whoever they were, but so let's go through
Sure, go ahead.
some of these lovely relevant comments here. I did like what X-Ray said. He said Mickey was traumatized. She was stuck with Johnny.
I mean, that is traumatizing. Yes.
Yeah. And X-Ray says, "Damn, this sounds like a very special episode of Friday the 13th." Yeah, on a special episode of Friday the 13th the series. Um, X-Ray says, "Question: Where was Curious Goods supposed to take place?" See, I think me and TJ talked about that, but we don't really know. Um,
It's New York by way of Canada.
there you go. X-Ray says, "I know it was shot in Canada. But was it supposed to be a specific city?"
Probably not.
X-Ray says the show always seemed a bit Boston-y.
No, I'm from Boston. It's
Yeah,
not.
I was gonna say it.
That's somebody who's
TJ's
never been
from
to
Boston.
Boston. They don't know what they're talking about.
Wes says you need your gloves back, TJ.
He said I was not. I shouldn't be wearing them, so I stopped wearing them.
So he says so you can pose like AJ Styles when I introduce you.
Who? Isn't that a wrestler?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh God, Wes, come on. Was this filmed in Texas or Louisiana? Come on. I'm
Texarkana.
I'm not even gonna answer that because I know why he's saying that.
It was in Texarkana, wherever that is.
Blissful says TJ has never been wrong. That's why we don't need Google.
Well, if I am wrong, it's Google's fault.
No, Wes, I'm not afraid that somebody's going to flash their Peter on the stream. Wes, yeah. It's just that's the second time somebody's came in with a name I don't recognize. They're not on camera, so I can't. I've been burned too many times to be just letting anybody on. But anyway, we'll move along to the next episode, which is "Stick It in Your Ear," which people could make all kinds of dirty things about that, couldn't they? Um,
That was a saying back then.
yes, it was. The cursed antique in this case is a hearing aid, of course, because that's something that you stick in your ear, right?
Which I'm like, that's not how antique. I mean, I guess they have old hearing aids, but I mean, this one isn't that old.
No, it looks modern for the time, late 80s,
Yeah, or even looks like something like from the 70s. I mean,
possibly.
I have them, but they're not they don't look at that at all.
But I'm going to go ahead and let TJ start talking about this episode here.
Yeah, so it's a possessed hearing aid. This guy was sort of like these two guys and they're sort of flim flammers, and they do the whole where you get somebody in the audience and you try to talk about you guess stuff about them because the person in the audience who picks them gives
Uh,
you hints through an earpiece. That's the whole thing with the earpiece. They find somebody else is using this earpiece thing, um, and the two dudes, one of them comes across it after we do get a nice beginning thing with this guy's in his car and he's got the hearing aid on and he's got all this pus and blood and this is very gross and looks very good and gross. I
oh,
like
yeah. The effects are good on this.
there's some heads explode, bleeding blood. It's not as good as Scanners, but it's what we can get away with on TV. We got some nice pustulating
Mm.
movements, with the moving and stuff like that, which is very cool. That happens a couple of times in this episode. I like the gooey, gory stuff. Anyway, so the guy gets the hearing aid. The way the cursed hearing aid works is it hears things that people are thinking, and then it has to be at we don't have a specific time limit, I guess, but when it's all filled up, it needs to there's a word for it. I can't think of it. Expel, but I'm trying to think of another word. Like, damn, I wish I knew what the word was. Anyway, he's got the all the thoughts have to go somewhere,
Hmm.
and he basically, you know, um, Jedi mind sends them into someone else. They explode. That's how and then he fills it up again with people's thoughts, and then he has to. No, that's not the word I'm looking for. But thank you, Blissful, for trying. So anyway, he does that. He kills his partner because he wants to get rid of his partner. There's this woman who sort of like wants to be his agent, but I guess basically, she sort of takes over. She's not the greatest of people either. I don't think she's very innocent in this
Hmm.
episode. She's kind of, I guess she's kind of pushing him. She uses it on him. He uses on her eventually.
Uh-huh.
And then he ends up like he ends up getting the eye of a guy who owns a TV talk show or something like that, and he invites him on. He becomes popular. He comes back, and then we get Mickey and Ryan. I keep doing it. Mickey and Jack and Johnny are basically cornering him, and they're thinking thoughts to him that we know what's going on, and you can't get away. And eventually, he has so many thoughts in his brain that he basically his head bleeds and blows up basically, and they they have to pick up the hearing aid from this pool of pus and blood and Johnny's doing it like right there, and I'm like, is anybody going, why are you picking that up? No, that doesn't seem to ever happen in these episodes. Yeah, and then everybody all the guest stars are dead except for
Yeah.
maybe that talk show guy, and then that's it.
So something else from the book. The author says this holds special significance for her because this was the first episode that she ever saw. She was kind of like channel surfing when she was 10 years old on a Saturday morning. And this was 1990 when she was doing this. And there were no on screen guides. She said, so she just came across this show That's
Yeah,
basically how I discovered Joe Bob Briggs on Monster Vision. I didn't even know who he was before that, and
yeah.
I was like, "Oh, who's this guy? He looks interesting," and become a fan from that day on. But
I saw him on the movie channel. That's how far back
well,
I saw him.
Steve did too, and Steve has still actually got some old VHS tapes with Joe Bob from the movie channel
Yeah.
that actually play. But I don't even know if we have a VCR now. We
He
did.
was like the first to ever have Evil Dead on like a pay service,
Uh-huh.
HBO or whatever. Like,
Yeah, because wasn't that one that for a long time he said it was? They said it was too grisly for cable.
yeah, which I'm like, okay. But then they had pay per view. Like Suspiria was on pay per view at some point. So I
Mm.
mean, maybe they just didn't have the right audience that they thought were going to watch it, so they didn't even try to put it on there. But
I like X-Ray says Mickey, Jack, and Fake Ryan.
not even close. Oh,
No.
oh, by the way, to bring up the book on this episode, I think it was the director. No, it was the guy who plays the villain. He had a cast made of his head, um,
Oh.
and he at the end of the shoot he was given the fake head, um, as sort of like, hey, here's your parting gift from working on this episode, um, and his young daughter had seen the episode. And at a very young age, that's another thing too about the writer of the book saying that
Oh yeah, she accidentally watched it, didn't
yeah,
she?
her grandmother or somebody had it on because hey, your dad's going to be on a TV show, we should watch it type of situation. Um, so he ended up using the head to explain to his daughter how it wasn't daddy's head. It was this. In the book, she says the daughter was using it to like as like a makeup thing to practice putting makeup on and stuff like that, which I think is hilarious. Um,
Oh my goodness, I gotta put this up here. Coco says I saw a VCR on an episode of Wheel of Fortune earlier, and the year was '87. That thing was like $700. Yeah, they were pretty. They packed a pretty heavy price early on, which
yeah.
is why my family didn't get one till much later. And we got a front loader. We didn't have a top loader. Did you ever have a top loading VCR, TJ?
I remember one as a kid, so I guess we had one.
My cousins had one, but they always had the new techie stuff way before my family did because my uncle Jim was a techie guy. He loved all kinds of gadgets and
We
stuff.
had a beta player.
I think my Aunt Sandy and Uncle Scotty, they may have had a beta player for a short time.
Yeah, we didn't have that many movies because they weren't. I mean, it was supposed to be better than VHS. The quality was
Yeah,
supposed to be better,
that's what I always heard.
but it just never caught on as much as VHSs did. And then Laserdisc hung around for a little while, and then as soon as DVDs were developed, Laserdiscs were gone.
Yeah.
VHS was slowly.
And HD DVDs, like
Yeah.
I don't know who thought that was a good idea. Steve actually has a few of those.
Well, they had Super VHS too, which the quality was going to be a lot
Oh
better.
yeah.
The tapes to record were a lot of money too for unless you were like rich and you had extra money.
I loved it when we first got a VCR and I was like, "Oh, we can not only watch movies, but I can record stuff." I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. Anyway, so we're not on here all night. We'll move on to
So
yes, it is. And this is the episode where uh Mickey is very emotional pretty much throughout. And she talks about Ryan as well and how Ryan got a kind of a second chance to live life all over again.
yes, because they find out about the coin resurfacing, and Mickey thinks because the coin is back that it's coming for her,
Yeah.
So a lot of this episode is her trying to come to terms with maybe she's gonna die, but she's afraid. She's not. It's not like she's gonna like, okay, I'm gonna die. Let me do a lot of cool stuff. No, I'm scared as shit, and I want to hide from it.
Yeah, she's at one point she's just kind of like hunched over like she's shaking.
Yeah.
And then in
Turn
the
that
one
on timer. Yeah.
another scene she's kind of like this in the bed, and Jack comes in there and said, "Mickey, what's going on?"
Mm-hmm.
Of course, this is a bad penny episode. The cursed antique is the coin of, how do you pronounce that, TJ?
I don't remember.
It's Ziocles.
I have to read the word. Zeocles?
That sounds good to me.
Sure. I know they pronounce it, but I don't remember what they said. um,
Yeah, and we open this on the last few scenes of Tales I Live, Had You Die, which was the episode where um, Mickey, of course, died.
yeah.
And she gets to come back, but I mean, she does die, and it's.
Yeah, I have something with that too. The how it works in this episode compared to that episode.
Well,
Um,
you go ahead and start us off here, TJ.
First of all, I do like I said, it's another. This is our second sequel episode. We had the compact, which returned from one season to the next, um, but in that second episode, they used a lot of the scenes from the prior episode. This one they do better. They only have like a couple of moments in here. It's not like like I said, it's not like I mentioned earlier, Eric Freeman. It's not like Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, where 90% of the movie, half of the movie is all the same, is the first movie, basically. Um, Even more than half. Anyway, like I said, we open up with scenes from the ending scenes of the last episode where the the evil dude is trying to reach for the coin and he dies and he's buried alive.
Uh-huh.
This is a construction crew digs up the corpse and the coin. They hide the corpse. They like throw it in like a. They like throw it in like some part of the construction that they're doing, which is like that's illegal. But they're like, we don't want to hold up the our construction work because there'll be an investigation. And it's like, but you guys get paid hourly in your union. You should. If this maybe it's different in Canada, but like that's how the union works.
Right.
If it's stopped, you're still getting paid, and you're just waiting around until it's all settled out. At least especially back in the '80s, the unions back in the '80s were very powerful. My dad was a union rep, and he ruled with an iron fist until he stopped working there. But anyway, these two cops end up finding the coin. They go on this case. They're undercover. Are they? No, wait a minute. They're not undercover. They know there's this some underhanded illegal deal is going on, and they're there to stop it. But we find out they're crooked cops. So they're trying to like get in on the crooked act that's going on. They end up finding the coin. They end up killing the guy who they're going after. Later on, they kill a. Later on, when they realize how the coin works, they kill this hooker, who's the hooker that gave them the information on this guy that they killed at the beginning of the episode. And it's like, she did you a favor, and then you kill her. Boy, you're really crooked cops. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
so yeah, they're not the nicest guy. One of the cops gets killed. The other cop brings him back to life with the coin. But they're not the only ones to use the coin. Johnny finds out about the coin, brings his father back to life.
Which is not a good move.
No. So the soul of the soul of the hooker ends up going into because that's the soul, like, jump starts the body. And so here's where I'm confused. They bring Mickey back to life with the coin. Mickey's fine, but in this version, the father's sort of like a zombie.
I
And he
wonder if it's because
dead too long, maybe.
he'd been dead,
Maybe that was it. But then,
because Mickey was alive and she just got dead by the coin, and so
yeah, but weren't the people they were bringing back to life in the other episode with the coin dead for like centuries? And they brought them back.
oh hell, TJ, I've slept since then. I don't know.
I think that's so the continuity here. At least with the compact, they make a reference. Oh, the way the item is working differently now. So they
Yeah,
make an
right.
explanation. Here they're just like, no, the coin isn't meant to bring back people to life. But Johnny's like, it brought Mickey back, God damn it! So why can't it bring her back? Like I said, so the dad's walking around like a zombie. He's like,
Yeah,
oh, let's pitch the tent. Oh, I'll do it, Johnny, because you are never good at that. Johnny, what about your mom? Like he's talking that way through the whole thing. And I'm like,
right.
okay, makes no sense, but sure, whatever. And then anyway, um, the uh, the uh, the dead brought back to life cop turns on his partner because they're bad cops. So
Right.
of course they would turn on each other. I'm not shocked. And but his partner is shocked that he shot him, and I'm like, you're both crooked cops. Why are you shocked that your dead partner, who you brought back to life, is all of a
Yeah.
sudden, you know? So here's where I mentioned earlier how some of the cursed items corrupt people,
Mm-hmm.
but some of the items are just there with the people who are already corrupt. These cops are already corrupted.
Right.
And so the coin has really nothing to do with them being the way they are. But they don't corrupt Johnny. Johnny seems to make sense during this whole episode. Even though,
He makes more sense in this episode than he does a lot of the other episodes.
but then again, Johnny should not have used a cursed item because they're evil and they just cause more evil.
Right.
And it's just, and there's a point very near the end of the episode where Jack is pissed off at Johnny and says, "Don't come near us and don't help us or don't be involved with us ever again." And by the end of the episode, they're like, "Oh, okay."
We forgot about that. Let's have a group hug.
Not even that we forgot about it. We're gonna ignore it because you had.
We're just gonna blatantly ignore it.
He kills his dad with the coin, and they put the coin in the vault. So he's. But I'm like, you didn't have to kill Mickey, but plot,
Big plot hole.
and that's it.
Yeah,
It's been 87 seasons of Grey's Anatomy. We're never doing that.
we're not doing Grey's Anatomy, Wes. I don't care enough about Grey's Anatomy to do that.
These are shows that are no longer on the air.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, that retrospective of Masters of Horror was too long, guys.
Yeah, how long did y'all go on?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
People in glass houses shouldn't throw videotapes with TV shows on them.
They shouldn't throw videotapes of Masters of Horror and Grey's Anatomy.
No, you can watch General Hospital on your own X-ray. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't want to do a General Hospital retrospective. There were some good episodes of General Hospital, but I really think they were few and far between. General Hospital had good time periods, and then had some very bad time periods. Oh God, Gilmore Girls whistle.
No.
I think she's yanking Wes's chain. She says,
Yeah.
they're waiting for you to do the Gilmore Girls.
After the series is over, we gotta do Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah, is that the one you want to do next?
Yeah, but we can't do a whole season at a time. That's not gonna happen.
Oh no. We'll have to break it up.
Maybe like a handful of episodes too. Like
Yeah, because how long were the Tales from the Crypt episodes? Were they
I can't remember. Were they?
about like these, or were they half hour?
Yeah, they were 30-minute episodes.
Season 1, part 5 of what, Wes? I don't think we went to a part 5 with any of these, have we, TJ?
I don't think so. We
Okay.
can't count the days we skipped because that doesn't count.
Exactly.
Okay, let's get to this next episode because I didn't like this episode because okay, first of all, I just want to say there's some dialogue used in this episode which is not flying in today's world.
No, I noticed that
Anyone knows
too.
that words. Johnny says a word which I was like, "Whoa! Why did you say that word?"
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I was like, that would get yanked off the air if even made it to air
Yeah,
now. But this is Hate on Your Dial, and it was actually written by a woman, and it was written by Nancy Ann Miller, who I'm not familiar with that name. And the cursed antique is a car radio in this
yeah.
case.
Which is a which I like. That's something different. Finally, this like I said, this coin was used. There's an episode. I don't know if we're going to talk about it, but it's a pen. We already did a pen season 1, a boring pen episode.
Yeah.
Um, Fancy Nancy. What is we're talking about
Tony
Scream.
Moran hanging around or something? Maybe that was
I
Tony
didn't say
Moran.
that word. That word would not have been in this episode.
No, but he says a very un-PC term for by today's standards.
This I wrote this down. This episode is what I call where did I write it down? That's not where I wrote it down. It was Back to the Future meets Mississippi Burning. Have everybody seen Mississippi Burning?
Yeah, I believe so, but it's been a while.
Yeah. So yeah, this is yeah. I'm gonna go through this pretty fast this episode. So yeah. So it's about this racist family who it's about a racist family. We'll start there. There's one son who has a black friend. His brother ends up killing him.
Mm-hmm.
The the older brother who had the friend, he has he's not that's another thing too. What he's called is not what he is. We find out when he was younger, his father used to beat him in the head, and it messed up his brain. So he's now mentally challenged because of that.
Mm-hmm.
The word that it's used is not to describe what he has. So yeah, so he has an abusive, racist father who him and I think it was him and some other guy basically or no it was the Klan. They killed this poor black guy who was just trying to get food for his family. The son now in the present time. No, this happened back in the 50s. The son now in the son wasn't even born when his father died, but somehow the kid still becomes a racist, which I'm like, okay. Sometimes it's not. It's your environment and not. I don't want to get into philosophy about how people become what they are. Sometimes it's environment. Sometimes you're taught it. Whatever. That's the end of that. So he finds the cursed radio through his brother, who went to buy something for his brother. Johnny is the one. That's the one thing about this episode. Johnny sells an item, which maybe he didn't know it was cursed, but anything in that store, you should find out about it before you sell it. He ends up selling a cursed item to this guy.
And without looking in the manifest, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what they say?
Yeah. He bought this box of stuff for the shop.
Mm-hmm.
So his thing was like, oh, I didn't know it was cursed because who knew something I brought in was cursed? Like, if it was, that's the whole thing. The items are sort of drawn to this place.
Yeah.
Even new items are drawn to this cursed place. So, but Johnny's a moron in this episode. That's all I'm going to say about that.
And Jack's a little rough. I mean, well, he's a whole lot rough on Johnny, a lot rougher than he is on him in any other episode, I think.
Well, the last episode with the
Yeah.
with his father, he was mad. So maybe this is a carryover from that episode. But anyway, so the guy gets the cursed radio. He decides, I'm going to go back in time and save my dad from being because what happens was his dad is the only one that was arrested for the killing of the poor guy. Not poor guy, but the poor guy. Anyway, so he goes back in time to save his dad. But he kind of likes to stay there because, I like being here and I want to be he wants to be racist, so he's happy to be back in the 50s with the racism. This character's a great character. He ends up killing his brother too, which is like, okay.
Yeah.
And then he goes back in the past again, and he finds out why his brother was the way he was. So he starts to realize maybe his dad wasn't the greatest guy, and maybe following in his racist footsteps wasn't a good idea. But he's a scumbag. He ends up dying. Screw him, and screw this whole story. I'm stopped. I'm done with it.
Yeah, this story is.
One more thing. The mother is terrible. She's one of those mothers who, like, she let her son be beat.
Yeah.
She's sort of more sympathetic to not being racist, but she lets her son be racist. She lets her husband be racist. So even though she's against black people being treated like garbage, she still lets all these things happen. So she isn't the great person either. So screw her too.
So, just to add a few things, that the episode. What's that?
I'm pissed off. Just go.
Okay, I'll go real quick. But this episode is just full of things that would make today's audiences say, "What the hell? What?" They probably would alienate about 95% of the audience, maybe a little bit more, by using words like we're not going to mention on here, and for just the whole episode is full of racist scenes and actions, all of that stuff. So
it is anti-racist, though. It's to show you how it's ridiculous. It's stupid to be racist. It's stupid to be a bigot. It's definitely stupid to abuse your family or anybody at all. So it has a point to make, and the words they used were the point. Were part of making the point. Also, it was certain words were used in the 50s in the story.
Mm-hmm.
So you understand that that's something that happened, and that's how people just use that as their normal talking back then.
Yeah.
Which
exactly.
It's one thing to talk about the woke culture, but to just be a blatant racist is just stupid and wrong. Mm-hmm. And if there's an argument about that, I don't want to talk to you about it because you're an idiot.
Yeah, you can't argue about that. It's no.
But
I found this interesting in the book. They talk about this. They were told many times that this was the best Friday the 13th the Series episode ever. It was done with a lot of passion and commitment. Jim Henshaw said it was one of the best things they've ever done.
Yeah.
And it got a couple of awards. But I don't know. It's a very hard episode to watch, but I'm going to move on from that because I can tell that this is not one that TJ wants to keep talking about.
For the type of show this was a very strong message episode. And to add stuff with the it just adds so much to it. Mm-hmm. I think it went overboard too with especially with the older brother. I'm like, why do they need to add that? We already knew this guy, the father was a piece of garbage.
Yeah.
We have to add the whole thing, and then the mother letting it happen. It's just like there are no redeeming characters except for Mickey, Jack, and Johnny. I don't know.
Wes is still going on about the whole entire series. He's like, I can't believe this show won any awards. I just want to know what is wrong with this show as a whole. And he'll probably say, well, tell me one thing that was right about this show as a whole.
Well, it's just he didn't like the show. I mean,
Mm.
he like you talk about Ronnie Blakely is a horrible actress, but she was nominated for Academy Award. So I mean,
Oh, yeah.
who's to say what? Just because you have a right to your opinion, but other people don't necessarily think the same way. But
Mm.
he hates the show. That's fine. Why is he watching us talk about it?
Well, that's a good question to ask, DJ. Why is he watching us talk about just to yank our chain? Maybe I don't know.
I
But
mean, that's
anyway,
fine. He adds a lot of lad to it by doing that.
But anyway, moving on to Night Parade. This was
Yes.
another one directed by Armand Mastriani, and the Cursed Antique is a cross of fire. This is a vampire episode, everybody, and not just any vampire episode. There is a lesbian vampire scene in this, so Steve
It's
will
very
probably like this one.
yeah. I was gonna say two Steve episodes we go over. Yeah, this isn't what's that Morella? I think that's a lesbian vampire story.
I think so.
This
Yeah.
this is very light Jess Franco type of situation.
Well, okay, so we'll let TJ talk about this one because but before we get into it, I'm fully prepared to talk about the next episode. But do you want to count the double episode as two episodes, TJ, or do you want to go ahead and cover the one after this one?
Well, let's get through this one, and maybe we'll do that next episode. Why not?
Okay.
Night Prey this is a good vampire. This is very so the main vampire reminds me of Jerry Dandridge. He's
Yeah.
sort of he's like that pretty boy look and very suave. He even dresses sort of like got that sort of way that Jerry dressed in the movie. Very 80s, but very like high class 80s type of look. So yeah. So we get this couple. They're engaged. They're in love. I think they're married. Right? Are they married? I think they're married.
It seems like it. Yeah.
Um, she gets he gets attacked, and she gets taken away by a vampire. We've already set up in the series. I can't remember what season, but they were vampires, so we already know vampires are walking around here. Though, if we knew this is a supernatural show, this is only the second time we've seen vampires, and it's like, wouldn't you be on guard?
Yeah.
You come across vampires, so they exist.
We've come across vampires and werewolves and
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff.
There's part of this episode where Jack brings up vampires, and Mickey turns to him like, vampires?
Vampires.
You were almost killed by one. He brought you back into the past. The
Yeah.
guy wrote Bram Stoker's Dracula because of that episode in the story. So I mean,
Well, how do you take Jack, the inner monologue that Jack has and all that stuff at the beginning and the end of this episode?
Yeah. So Jack's contemplating about. First, he starts off about how you're doing something for good, but you're using evil to do it. Basically, is the whole premise of the beginning, and then the end is he goes through the whole episode, and at the end he's introspective about vampires and how maybe they've learned so much, especially the ones that have been around for centuries, and he contemplates maybe it wouldn't be too bad to be a vampire.
Yeah, he has that line, "God help me, I almost envy them."
She didn't win the award; she was nominated for it. But anyway, Yeah. So So the guy ends up being a vampire hunter. He's been trying to find his wife for the last 20 years. 20 years is now the present. Um, he finds this vampire chick walking around. I don't know if she's a hooker or she's just out of a club or whatever. This is the first episode where we get introduced to it's like a goth vampire club. It's not specifically a vampire, but we find out a lot of vampires were killed in this club, so they're hanging around this club.
Mm-hmm.
It's called. What is the name of the club? It's called. Where the hell is that thing I wrote down? It is.
The hooker is described as essentially eating an ice cream cone.
That's the later hooker, not the hooker that gets killed.
Right.
That's the later hooker, which I'll explain that one in a minute. Where is the? Where did I write it down? Here we go. The Neon Gargoyle.
There we go. Yeah, Neon Gargoyle.
That's a great goth name, but it's so funny. So it's sort of like the bar that they go to in the Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the TV show.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, all these kids are going to a bar. They're not serving any of them, but it seems to be only kids that go to this bar. Weird thing that. Well,
why would they even let these underage kids in a bar?
Yeah. Well, with Joss Whedon, and we found out about Joss Whedon, so a lot of that makes perfect sense. Anyway, meanwhile, so after he kills this one vampire, he gets attacked by other vampires. He goes to this church. He sees this cross sort of behind this glass. He steals the cross because he needs a weapon. This priest is like, "Hey, don't steal my cross, you son of a bitch." He didn't say it, but he fights him for the cross. The priest stops. We find out that there was a dagger in the so it's like a switchblade cross.
Mm-hmm.
The priest ends up dying. It was an accident, but we find out this cross is like an ancient cross used back in the Crusades. And what the monks would do they'd have a knife hidden in their crosses to protect themselves from being attacked while they were traveling. So it's a historical logic, which okay, sure, but it works like a switchblade. And did they have that technology back in those old days? I don't know. Maybe they did. I don't know.
I didn't think so, but anything's possible.
I could get if there was a sheath on it and they took off the sheath and they used the thing back, but I don't know about a switchblade, which is what basically happened.
That seems like something from the 50s at best,
Yeah. So anyway, he kills the priest by accident. The priest is a friend of Jack's. Shocker. Someone who knew Jack is killed by an item. They discover that's one of the cursed item. They don't know how it was found, but someone ended up finding it, putting it in the church for a display. Yeah, and the Scooby Gang is trying to figure out. It makes sense that this is sort of maybe Joss Whedon stole the idea for the club from this episode. Who knows? He stole a bunch of shit. Anyway, we're trying to find out what's going on. We don't know. There's this guy. What the hell's his name? We should know by his name that he's a vampire, but we get this. The head vampire, the Jerry Dandridge vampire, is named Evan Van Hellier.
Yeah, exactly.
Hell in his name. How do we not know he's evil? I mean, but they don't figure it out. Jack goes to the guy's house to find out, because he might know something about what's going on with the killings, because he frequents the club, I guess. And his familiar answers the door and says, "No, Jack, this guy, he's not here. Obviously, because it's middle of the day, the vampires aren't going to be available."
Right.
And that night, he ends up going to the shop to talk to Jack. Mickey sees him. He sort of comes in, and Mickey's like, "Hey, come on in," because he's like, "Oh, Jack told me to show up here." Like, "Oh, okay." And then Mickey's sort of mesmerized by him because he's the mesmerizing vampire. I guess he's Jerry, so she's Amy, I guess. She's the
Mhm.
she's the Amanda Wist, not Amanda Wist, Amanda Bierce character.
Yeah, right.
They're both named Amanda, and their names sound the same. I mean, so whatever. Anyway, um, and he's like, "Oh, let me try to help you." Blah blah blah. Meanwhile, the dude finds his girlfriend, his wife, who has been enslaved by the not enslaved. He turns her into a vampire. Um, she's in love with him. Her ex tries to go save her. She's like, "No, I love him now. The person I was doesn't exist anymore. The person you know, I'm not her anymore."
Right.
He kills a couple of vampires that were. She's getting it on with this other vampire chick in bed, and he kills that chick, and she sort of melts and turns into like a mummy type of thing. And he basically kidnaps her and holds her prisoner. And he's got her like chained he's using this warehouse as his base of operations. And he chains her up in the warehouse that is being rented by the vampire guy. So like, wow, this is all connecting really weirdly. But the guy who wants to kill you and take his wife that you took, but I'm taking her to this warehouse that you're renting out to me. It's like, wow, this is all connected weird. But hey, like it's plot. It's supposed to make sense for the episode. We're gonna go with it. Now I guess he's keeping her trapped in the warehouse so she won't kill people and suck their blood, but she's thirsty. He goes to get a hooker to sacrifice to his girlfriend. So he's helping. So this is why at the beginning where it's like he's saying, oh, he's trying to stop the evil, but he's also becoming evil to protect the people he wants to protect. So that's where Jack is sort of like, yeah, is it wrong? Yeah, Jack, it is wrong. He should kill his girlfriend or wife regardless because she's a vampire.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, long story short, he ends up becoming a vampire because she's sort of falling back in love with him, sort of, but she's also in love with the other guy who's a vampire. So he's like, turn me into a vampire so I can kill the other dude and you can be free. She reluctantly makes him a vampire because she doesn't want the other guy to be dead, but she also doesn't want him to be dead. So there's this love triangle thing going on. He ends up killing the main vampire. Jack and the other two come to try to save everybody, not knowing this guy is now a vampire. But Jack ends up having some holy water that he has stashed at the Curious Goods place. I guess he is a demonologist and witch, and so I guess it makes sense that he would have his own holy water, which he uses to kill the other vampire, to kill the new vampire dude, which leaves the girl alone now, without a boy, without a ex-husband, and without a current vampire dude. Jack is about to kill her and put her out of her misery, but he looks at what the two dead guys, looks at her, decides to spare her life. She's kind of shocked, and then she just screams because she's screwed. What is she gonna do? She's got to find a new boyfriend now, or she can find a new girlfriend because she obviously goes both ways.
Right.
Which, hey, good for her. If that's what she wants, fine. And then at the end, Johnny's like, why did you let her go?
Yeah, they had that big discussion.
Because she was a vampire. But Mickey's like, well, he gave her a chance, and what she decides to do with her chance is up to her now.
Right.
And she's living another day. Technically, she's living another night because she's a vampire, But that's the end of the episode. And then we
That
have.
was not a good philosophical speech from Mickey, by the way.
He's not the philosophical speech.
So they shouldn't have let her try to do a
That's what it is
philosophical.
with Jack contemplating
Right.
maybe being a vampire isn't a bad thing, and maybe it's kind of a cool thing. But God forbid me, God forgive me for even thinking that maybe it's a good thing, and that's the end of the episode.
Yep. So do we want to end it with that episode, TJ, and then just pick it up with the femme fatale next time?
What do you want to do?
I'm flexible. I can do either one.
Well, I mean, we're just hitting what 2 hours.
I mean, we can cover it.
Sure, I just gotta bring it up again because I lost what the episode was.
But while you're doing that, I'm going to read through some of these comments because some of them are pretty
read
funny.
some of the words. Don't read all of them because some of those words shouldn't have been written in the first place. But anyway.
No, probably not. So X-Ray says, speaking of vamps, how about a Forever Night stream? I would seriously have to dig up Forever Night, and I don't know.
There's also the 2-hour TV movie that with Rick Springfield that was before the
That's
series.
right. And Wes says, what about the Ewoks cartoon? We're not going to do anything
That's
on
not
the Ewoks.
horror related.
And X-Ray says, what about Camp Candy? Y'all are completely derailing this. I'm sorry.
Ronnie Blakely hates Ronnie James Dio. They spell their names differently. I don't know.
Wes says Ronnie Blakely winning the Academy Award was the darkest day in award show history, but you said she was quite nominated. And Wes wants to know if you're a Meryl Streep fan, TJ. She's won a lot of awards.
I've seen her movies.
Me too.
I don't go out of my way. If she's in a movie and I like it, I like it. I mean, you know.
And he says he likes watching Meryl Streep while I eat my Grey Poupon and drink my tea.
They're making a musical out of Death Becomes Her. I know. I remember. I read that early today. I don't know why they would do that, but sure.
I don't think Jason Voorhees was ever in an episode of Friday 13th the Series.
No, he's
because that wasn't what it was about.
No. Blame Frank Mancuso Jr. He decided to use the name.
Uncle Bill's telling me, Dana, you need to get control of this show. People talking about Ronnie Blakely and the show blowing and whatnot. Come on.
Wes kept bringing her up. Wait a minute. Who brought her up? Did I bring her up? Did he bring her up?
Wes says if Ronnie Blakely likes metal, it's probably that shitty modern shit like Avenged Sevenfold.
Yes, that's what it is. Uncle Bill chiming in.
Uncle Bill says if there's one thing I can't stand, it's shit talking Ronnie Blakely.
You've done it too. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I don't know. Has he had a change of heart or something?
You guys were talking about how terrible an actress she was. Well,
and then he says
through that whole movie, but I mean,
Ronnie Blakely is a huge Ice Nine Killer fan. I highly doubt that. Oh goodness!
What was that death metal band with a guy with the lead singer killed himself and then they put it on the album cover? What was that band? Mayhem. She's a big fan of Mayhem, the Norwegian death metal band.
Uncle Bill says worst equals Dakota Fanning. I don't think Dakota Fanning's that good of an actress either. So
she was a terrible Sherry Curry.
Uncle Bill says, you know who's worse than Ronnie Blakely, though? That fucking werewolf guy from Twilight. Oh, wow.
I don't even know his name. Was it he was in that terrible second season of Scream Queens?
Blissful said she forgot about the Rick Springfield movie.
It was a movie before it was a series.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't get Rick Springfield.
Oh, God, now we're talking about Rick Springfield. Uncle Bill says, everyone always talks about Jesse's girl. Well, y'all know that I've done everything for you as his best. Okay, we could get into. I'm not going. I'm not going to tonight, but we could get into a whole discussion about best Rick Springfield songs. I love Rick Springfield.
I like "Bop to Your Drop" is a good one.
There you go.
They ripped off Mad Max with the video.
Okay, but anyway, before this gets completely
It is
derailed,
because you read the comments.
we're gonna get to Femme Fatale, which is gonna be the last episode of the night, and
Femme Fetal. It's about baby femmes.
the Cursed Antique is a 16 millimeter film reel in this case. So take it away, TJ. And I'm gonna get something else to drink because I'm
Yeah,
oh,
this old director from the 40s and 50s um, has his wife who was in his movies. She's bedridden now. She's very old and bedridden. I can't remember the actress's name, but if I've seen her in a bunch of crap. Anyway, so he has this cursed movie reel of one of his movies, which his wife also starred in. He brings young women back to his house while his wife's sleeping in the other room where she can hear everything that's going on, but she doesn't seem to give a shit about it. So I'm like, okay, let your husband cheat on you with younger women. That's your problem. But she's also bedridden, and she's like, she's not. She's like, oh, she says to her husband at some point, all you do is take care of me. You should go and live your life. So I guess she's like, accepting of his infidelity, but like, have some class, dude. Don't bring back your girlfriend to your house. But that's actually not what he's doing. He's actually using these women to bring to life the woman in the film reel. Now, you just heard me say that his wife was the actress. Yeah, but she's young and hot in the film reel. She's not old and dying. So he wants to make up with the young, hot girl from the movie, not his old dying wife, which even makes him more of a scumbag. But anyway, yeah. So he bring back women who are very into his movie making, and which sort of reminds me of the werewolf episode, because that was all about movie
yeah,
making and um, art imitating life and life becoming art and whatever. I think they do it better in this episode than that episode. That episode was just a bunch of not as good stuff.
yeah. It was a bunch of uh, old werewolf footage,
Yeah, it was all stuff
basically.
from the werewolf movie with Lon Chaney. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, so so he brings this woman back who wants to learn about filmmaking and whatever. So he shows her the cursed film print. He as they're watching it, he tells her to stand up. She stands up. He kind of forces her to stand up, and he puts her in the way of the light of the projector, which forces her into the film reel. And what it does is she takes the place of the actress that's in the movie, which is his wife, and she comes out into the real world, and he basically makes out with her while the film is going, and the girl is basically experiencing everything the character of that the wife was playing in the movie. So she's getting beat up, she's getting shot at, and she ends up getting shot and killed. Um, and so we see them making out on the couch while the film is going. So it comes to the end scene where the girl is shot, and that means that the the character that he's making out with has to go back into the movie
Right.
to finish her scene and die and say her last couple of lines. But then the girl that ends up in the movie just sort of vanishes into thin air, basically, because she's now part of the curse. And he does this a couple of times. He ends up we end up the Scooby Gang ends up finding out what's going on. Jack and Mickey are outside, sort of watching what's going on. Mickey ends up being the one trapped in the in the movie. Jack can't save her because Jack was sneaking around the house, and these cops were there, and they arrest Jack for being a peeping Tom. Even though earlier they were questioning this guy about disappearances of people that he came across, which is like, because Jack's like screaming, "My friend's in there!" And when the cops end up going in there to investigate, they see it's the woman from the movie, and they don't see Mickey because Jack doesn't go, "My friend who's young and has red hair." That's what happens a lot of the time, which annoys me. They're not specific enough, and things just get screwed up because all Jack needed to say was what Mickey looked like.
Yeah.
You see red hair. The girl who's there does not have red hair. So that kind of annoyed me, but like we've said before, it's movie logic, and you can't argue with that because that's how it happens. But you got to deal with it. I still can yell as an audience member and get pissed off. That's my prerogative. I have something in my eye, so I have to rub it now. So poor Mickey ends up getting roughed up, and that's another thing too. The movie, everything except for the person that is put into the movie from the curse, the movie just goes like it is. Mickey can't change what's going on because she's stuck in the parameters of the actor that she's taking over for.
Right.
So she can't get out of it. So it's like, okay, she's stuck there. Excuse me. Johnny bails Jack out of jail. They try to save Mickey. Meanwhile, like I said, the wife is kind of figuring out what's going on, but we're not really paying much attention to her, except for the couple of times we see her in her bed. What we do get is the girl who's the character that the wife was playing, who has now become aware of what's going on. Because early in the episode, too, she's like, I want to stay. Don't put me back into the movie. And he's like, you have to go back. And she's like, why? We should just kill your wife, stick her in the movie, and then I can live here, and then we can be in love, and I can live a life and whatever. So he's kind of going for that. That's what leads up to the whole thing with Mickey being trapped in the film. And yeah, the girl, she just wants to be free, and she doesn't want to be stuck there. And it's like, okay, so he doesn't want to do it at first, but he finally says, okay, he relents and says, all right, I'll kill her, and then we can be together. He's gonna poison the tea. He poisons the tea, ends up not wanting to give it to her. I don't know what to call her. I guess I call him the actress. Technically, she's the character. I'll just say the character. So the woman character, what the hell's her name? I'll just say her name. I should have said her name at the beginning. It would have made sense. The character is... IMDb doesn't tell me because it doesn't list her. Oh, wait a minute. Glenda. Her name is Glenda. There we go. So the movie character is named Glenda. The actress who's the bedridden wife is Lily. Okay. So Glenda wants to be human. This is a very cool world. We mentioned Cool World earlier. This is kind of a cool world where Kim Basinger wants to be real. She doesn't want to be a cartoon anymore. Well, this girl doesn't want to be celluloid anymore. She wants to be a physical human being forever. She ends up getting away while Mickey's trapped in the movie, and she comes across people, a movie theater showing that movie. So not every reel of film is cursed. It's just the one that the guy owns. Anyway.
Of course.
Yeah. Would it be funny though if every episode of every version of that movie was cursed? That would be.
You're right.
Then this would be a 2-hour movie and not a 45-minute episode. Anyway, so she realizes that she has fans. She didn't realize this, and what she realizes by that is that the director Desmond, has been keeping her trapped there and not letting her live a life. And he's basically keeping her as a possession. So, we already knew he was a jerk by sacrificing these women to the video, to the movie reel. But he's also, keeping this. Poor Glenda. I mean, she wants to kill his wife, so she's not the greatest. She's not 100% innocent either. So, anyway, we have this confrontation in the guy's house. Everybody's there. Mickey's about to die at the end of the movie. It's sort of like, actually, Mickey almost dies in this movie, in this episode. She's almost dead in the movie. Because it's like right near the scene where she dies, where she's supposed to die in the movie, and the wife ends up finding a gun. She has a gun, shoots her husband dead because he's an evil bastard and deserves it. But somehow we get that conceit, like with the train and excuse me, I just burped. The train and Drag Me to Hell, where we have a time stands still for plot reasons. Same thing happens in this episode, which is kind of annoying, but like I said, we have to forgive that. So Mickey has more time than she really should have. But anyway, old Lily replaces herself in the movie for Mickey, and she gets to die in the movie. So Glenda thinks, oh, now because she's dead, I get to live my life. Nope. She goes up in a flame and screams in agony.
Right.
Yeah. And so Desmond's dead. She's no longer exists because she didn't even have a soul, because she was a cursed item. She probably doesn't even go there, which is good. At least she doesn't get the. Maybe she is burning in hell. I don't know. And then Lily gets to, die in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And she starts off old, but then she turns into her younger version. So maybe she gets to live in this movie forever. I don't know how the logistics work. Mickey ends up back into the real world. Mm-hmm. She's safe. But so we're at the end of the episode. There's a little discussion with the Scooby Gang where they're like, Mickey, what was it like? She's like, it was like I had no control over anything, and I had no control over myself, and I was just, I was trapped. We get some words of wisdom from Jack. I forget what he said. Damn, I thought I wrote down what he said. He says something like, I don't know what the fuck he wrote. So, that's not it. What did he say? Because it has to do with something that Mickey did. Wait a minute. See, I put my papers away because I didn't think we were going on to this episode, and then you're like, oh, let's do the episode.
Well, I gave you an option, DJ.
No, it's not your fault. I'm kidding. One thing I want to say about the episode. So when they're at the beginning, when they're watching the old movie, it says music by Frederick Molin, which is Fred Molin, who did the movie, did the music for the series, which I like that they gave him a credit in the fake movie. I thought that was cool. Um,
So
I got,
I
I got,
just wanted to bring up too that this is a fun fact from the book that
yeah.
the scenes from Felony Life were actually excerpts from a real film, Detour, from 1945.
Ah.
So
That
anyway,
wasn't the movie that is the movie that's cursed, but that's another movie that was in the. Because this movie
yeah.
is called. I can't remember what the name of the movie was called. Well, you have the book. What was the name of the movie?
Oh well, if you hadn't asked me, I'd know.
um, it was a
A
film.
Scandalous Woman, is that it?
What was that? Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. Um, yeah. So yeah, Jack's I think quote was movie is good thing that movie is only an illusion. And then they leave, and then Mickey starts touching her bruised face. It's not an illusion for Mickey because she actually physically felt everything that happened to her, and she has the bruises and pain from all that. So that was kind of an insensitive thing for Jack to say because he didn't realize what the hell he was saying.
Yeah, it's like who wrote that dialogue?
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, that's the end of the episode.
Yeah, I don't know. TJ may have liked it better than me, but I don't know. I didn't think this was a very strong episode. I mean, it was okay. Just,
It was very Sunset Boulevard. I don't know if you know that movie
yeah,
with the whole there's the older actress and her glory days that she's trying to relive. It's more the husband is trying to relive those days with her. So it's like a little topsy turvy version of that movie. It was fine. I mean, I like that they made the movie within the episode look like those older 50s, and it looked cheesy like those older 50s movies, that had like a car just being rocked back and forth with a screen behind it showing, um, you know, the scenery, that kind of look. So it had the feeling of one of those old movies.
right.
Um, but it's obviously done on film stock that is newer film stock. So it it wasn't a fake out. It wasn't a good fake out.
Right. Right. So how many episodes we have left, TJ? Let's
There
see.
was 20, and we just did 9, right? So yeah, right? Yeah.
I think we got 11 episodes left.
Yeah, we got 11.
So are we going to cover all 11 episodes to finish it up next time?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we went through these pretty fast. I think we could probably, if you want to, that's fine.
Okay, and then of course after that we will move on to Tales from the Crypt. So
Yeah, we'll try to figure out what order, how many to do at a time with those.
yeah,
Or we just take shorter discussions about them. I don't know.
we could do that. Yeah,
What does Wes say?
I'm looking at these the messages. So he says he takes responsibility for the show going off the rails. Hour 14 of the stream tonight was all my fault. Now you know good and well we didn't go on for
It's like it was. It's been 2 hours and 17 minutes. That's about the normal.
exactly.
That's about a normal. Hey, only the ones that are really long. Don't you can't say things that aren't true about the other ones. That's not
So
fair.
evidently, Uncle Bill's got a problem with Kroger. I have a huge problem with Kroger. I want to quit getting our groceries at Kroger, but Steve likes to because guess what? He can get fuel points. That's the only freaking reason he goes to Kroger.
Interesting. We don't have Kroger's where I live.
You're lucky. Where do you get your groceries at, TJ?
We have Market Basket and we have Stop and Shop.
Huh, got you. I agree, Uncle Bill. They're way too expensive. But that what they do is they have loyalty cards essentially, the Kroger Plus card or whatever the heck it's called.
Hmm.
And so they mark everything up, but the card is free. Why don't they just like just have normal prices and just forget that? But
Oh, by the way, Tales from the Crypt only had season one only had 6 episodes. That should be we could do that
oh,
in one.
that's right. Yeah, it's real short. We could do that in one night.
Yeah.
Hey, Chrissy, or just Chris. He says evening all slash the like. And Blissful and Uncle Bill are having a conversation about uh, rock music,
Oh, really?
Uncle Bill's trying to figure out who Blissful dated out of some of these rock bands. Um, he says, just curious as to who you dated. Uh,
Oh, Friday there's going to be a fan commentary with the Dead Pit Boys.
yeah, what is it? Nightmare on Elm Street 4?
Yep. For
I think good old
Halloween
Bradley
Massacre.
messaged me and told me that.
Have you checked out Dylan's New Nightmare?
Mm-mm.
It's the unofficial sequel to
Where
Freddy's.
where can I find that at,
It's on
TJ?
YouTube.
YouTube? Okay.
It's got
I'll,
Miko Hughes in it from.
I'll have to check it out. Coco says,
He didn't get that much taller.
Coco says, I've seriously got Rick Springfield stuck in my head now, and the only thing that can relieve it is to go listen to him at fairly high volume. Everybody take care. Well, Coco, if you're still in here, you take care too, but I got a feeling you might. No, she was still talking down there. Okay.
What do you drop in the hot city? Keep on working.
Blissful says, I'll hint they are middle aged and now needs a nap and firearms and flowers. So I guess she's hinting at who she dated.
Okay.
Uh, and Uncle Bill says, dude, Bliss, come on. You have to have stories for days. And she probably does, Uncle Bill, but that doesn't mean she's going to share them with you.
Was it Slash?
And she says, and a close friend who played in Megadeth. Plitzel says, Coco, he looks like someone's great aunt. Oh, man. Oh, gosh. Now Uncle Bill's like naming names here. Nick Manza, Dave Ellison, Gus. We talking earlier mid-90s Megadeth lineup. And she's saying later.
Yeah, when no one cared anymore.
Uncle Bill says, listen, that band had 72 members after 1992.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Uncle Bill, let it go. He says, okay, can you anonymously just send me a does he mean a white book or I don't know. A book about this era of your life. Oh, a whole book. Okay. Gotcha. Blitzel says, yeah, I'm not spilling the beans, Uncle Bill, so it doesn't matter if you message me and try to get me to.
It'll be in her autobiography.
She says she's only told me and that I'm not spilling the beans, and I will not. Uncle Bill's got the sad face. Fine. Um, Blissful says, TJ, no. I guess about the autobiography. So I wouldn't want an autobiography out on me either. That would be yeah. But it'd probably be boring as shit, is what that would be. But anyways, I did think of some stuff that just a couple of things I wanted to bring up, new ideas that I've got for now that knock on wood, the computer is mostly working now. So I'm going to start doing something called movie munchies. And no, I'm not going to be smoking pot on there. But I don't know if they're going to be live streams or just pre recorded videos. But I'm gonna go into the kitchen just like I did when I was doing the Mystic Pizza video, and I'm gonna make, foods that are related to different movies. I might try to keep it in the horror genre, but I'll probably branch out because there's only so much horror stuff.
By the way, you need the camera to be pointed down at you so you can see what you're doing.
Yeah, because you didn't get to see enough of that
No,
pizza,
because
right?
we're just nothing about. I'm not talking. Not about your face. Just the fact that that's all you were making pizza and all we saw was your face. It's like we're not seeing
Well,
that.
yeah, the thing was maybe I'll have to figure out how to set my tablet
Oh, is
where
that what you used? Oh,
because
okay.
I was using my new Samsung tablet
Ah,
to do it, and I don't know. Maybe I can come up with something where it's got a different angle.
or lower maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. I'll work with it. I
Workshop.
like I like the suggestions though, TJ, because if people don't give me suggestions, I don't ever know how to make things better.
Yeah, because you could have been doing anything. We couldn't tell.
Yeah, I could have. Um,
You could have been playing checkers. I don't know what you.
uh, Uncle Bill, you say I don't understand why I would let it go. This woman was around some of my idols around that time period. I'm going to be interested. Well, Uncle Bill. Maybe if you get your ass back on a watch along or something, maybe somebody'd share something with you. But no, you want to be like that. Blissful says she did get to wear his top hat.
Ah,
Uncle Bill says, I ain't concerned about relationships or all that. Just what went on during that era and what they were like. Sure, you didn't, Uncle Bill. You don't want to know it all.
no, Blissful didn't date Mustaine. He would have. That would have come up.
Blissful says, you be name an idol. I'll ruin it for you in seconds. Oh, man. So he asked about Lemmy, and she said, mostly drunk or stoned. And then he asked about Mustaine, and she says, asshole. You be a complete one at that.
What? I'm shocked.
Coco says, I'm still listening. That's a cool idea, Dana. A cooking segment. Yeah. Something else coming up, and I hope Blissful doesn't mind me bringing it up because hopefully we're going to have a friend of hers who is a musician,
From Megadeth?
not from Megadeth, but he hopefully he'll be able to come on and play guitar and play some of these horror theme songs as soon as we get all the details worked out. So, and make sure we're not breaking any copyrights or anything
What
like
about
that.
Ted Nugent? Blissful, have you met him?
Ted Nugent, yeah. Blizzle says she almost throat punched Lars a few times.
Ah, that's hilarious.
Uncle Bill says most underrated drummer of all time, Steve Adler.
Those poor drugs, man. Drugs kill you. They'll kill your life.
Yes, they will.
Really? Okay. I mean, he's a great musician. He's kind of a junk person, but hey, whatever.
But so, guys and gals, I'm probably it's almost 11:30, and I got to do a few things before I lay down to go to sleep. The good thing about most people having Monday off is there's only a couple more days left in the work week, and I get off early on Fridays. And you guys and gals be prepared for another midday with Dana and Jay around 1 p.m. Eastern time on Friday, because now that my computer is back up and running, and I don't, well, I look like shit anyway, but I mean, my camera doesn't look like shit. Because
What
I,
eyeshadow?
yeah,
Okay, I was just.
yeah, I got light purple eyeshadow on.
I saw that on one of your other streams. I was like, is she wearing makeup? I didn't see that. What the hell?
I try to put makeup on whenever I'm going to be on streams just because it makes me feel better. But last night I was kind of tired and I didn't put any makeup on, but probably wouldn't have mattered because the image quality was so bad. uh, Coco says, "Work on a menu, guys. TJ, get on that cake. Dana, something."
I made one cake. That was it.
Yeah, but that was a cool cake though. I liked it.
Well,
Did you end up eating
I
it?
it to Uncle Bill, so
Did you end up eating it, TJ?
yeah, we're gonna waste money. That's cost money to make a cake. Jeez.
Well, Uncle Bill should have drove to Boston and have to eat it. That's
Yeah.
well, you made it for his birthday, and he didn't even come and hang out with you and eat birthday cake. But yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and get off here, and I'm sure TJ has, or either he has things to do, or
I got a doctor's appointment in the morning. Come on.
oh no, okay. Uh,
I got my yearly checkup. I gotta get my my flu shot because I guess COVID's coming back.
Evidently so. But just a little note about Steve. He got his CPAP machine today, and
Ooh.
so he's sleeping with the mask on. It looks like something out of some kind of science fiction type movie.
Yeah, but it'll keep him alive while he's sleeping. That's good.
Well, I mean, they told him today that actually his oxygen level dropped even lower than he realized. That he told me one thing, and I guess either he didn't understand right or what, but they said it could cause all kinds of problems, including causing him to have a heart attack. And I said, Steve, see, that's why I worry so much about you.
Yeah.
But anyway, I want to thank TJ for being on here with me once again as we broke down some more episodes of Friday 13th the series. Tomorrow night, will be another episode of Seductive Poison, The Resurgence. I'm probably going to have to redo my intro to that because that's one I don't know why two intros were missing from Canva. All my other intros that I did on Canva are there in the projects, but my Daily Grindhouse and the Seductive Poison intros are not there. So I can either pull them from one of my videos and do it that way. Just edit it down to just include that part and save it as a video file, or I can recreate them from scratch. But I don't know if I want to do that or not. Blissful says, "Wait, TJ and I are the only ones here from the East Coast." That's possible, Blissful.
What part is Blissful from?
Blissful, I think, is from upstate New York.
Oh, okay.
Uncle Bill says, "I'm from the East Coast of Kentucky." Uh, my boss calls me a East Coast person because I'm not in Texas. So I don't know. Anyways, as I always say, I'm going to skedaddle on out of here for the night, and I will see everyone on the flip side. Thank you, TJ. Thank you, chat. It's been fun.
Bye.
And I'm officially back in the saddle again, I guess.
Woo.
So y'all have a good night, and I'll see you next time.
Bye.